Everyone thinks freedom is the end goal, but what if you reach freedom and you're still not okay? Hi, my name is Tasha, aka Miss Kiff. Welcome to my Kiff Nomadic Journal podcast. This is where I share all the behind the scenes of being a nomad. I have been a nomad for the last 3.5 years. I started my first year in 2022 in June when I moved into a van, and I lived there for 2 years, and van life served its purpose. I will dive deeper in the following episodes about van life, but this episode is a lot more deeper than just van life. 2 years of van life completely set up the foundation that I needed, and then life took a turn. My van broke and I had to sell it. So I took a leap of faith and I got into full-time travel in my first year. In my first year of full-time travel, so I've done 2 years of van life, 1 year of full-time travel. I traveled 24 cities whilst traveling full-time, plus building a business that was valued up to £100,000. And by my year 3, I was burnt out. My nervous system was begging me to stop. To stop and slow down, ground, and reassess, what have I actually built? Is this something that I can sustain, or is this not? So let's just break it down, because the first year of my full-time traveling was, exciting. It was liberating. It was like everything I dreamed for and more. The first year I started off in Italy, I worked in Packers. So Packers is basically an exchange where you can work for exchange for accommodation and experience. Really, absolutely brilliant. Would recommend it. Wouldn't recommend it if you're actually building a business. It's quite difficult. But I would say my first sign of my body kind of rejecting me was in Italy. I ended up moving out my van within I think a space of 32 hours or something crazy, and then selling my van and then taking a flight to Italy. So I actually, once I slowed down, my nervous system super crashed and my belly swelled up. I remember spending over £100 in supplements in Italy, and I kind of was just like, must just be like a sensitive thing. I never actually realized that this was my body signaling to me. Nevertheless, stayed a month in Italy, absolutely amazing. We'll dive deeper, by the way, into these episodes later on. I loved Italy for the food, the family, the culture, and the grounding aspect of Italy. However, Italy wasn't affordable because my budget, I had about only 3 months worth of kind of sinking fund, meaning the contracts that I had, whilst the £1,500 from what I used was selling my van, I got to travel in my first year. And the plan was always just to do 3 months, come back to rebuild another van. But I love full-time travel so much that I was like, no, this is way better than living in a van. So I ended up opening Airbnb, put my budget in anywhere in the world. It took me back to Asia. So Asia, I ended up flying into Phuket, and I stayed in Patong Beach for a month. This was okay. It wasn't the best place, but it was the most affordable and practical place. I really loved Thailand in terms of just feeling comfortable, because I was there before, but at the time there was only 30 days possible on my tourist visa. So I ended up working a lot online and going through some hypnotherapy and kind of just trying to build up the finance, I would say. So I didn't go out much. It was just about walking to the beach, swimming, and eating really healthy, and doing a lot of massages. I think I had about 12 massages in 1 month. It was amazing. I then went to Vietnam. So I flew to Bangkok and then went into Vietnam, Da Nang. And Da Nang, at the first month, again, when I got there, felt very burnt out. And I felt a bit like I wasn't really sure how I felt. I was a bit nervous. It's a new city. I think it took me a week to step outside the hotel room. I ended up booking a month Airbnb. And then from there, I went to a co-working space because the electricity like crashed. And I went to a co-working space. And in this co-working space, I met a South African, and he was like, you have 45 days, but I bet you're going to do a visa run because... And I was like, yeah, sure. I ended up loving this co-working space because it was open for 24 hours. It's called Seaview Co-working. And the original founder, Hannah, she was just so nice. She even organized group trips with digital nomads. So I was like, oh, this is like my cup of tea. So I went out for my first group trip. It was great. I came back. And then I think a week later I went out again, but then my drink got spiked. And then I realized, I was like, there's two sides to Da Nang. I'm going to stick to the good side, not going to go out. So I joined a running club. And at this stage, this was about August. And I was due a visa run on the 18th, I think something of September. So I ended up doing running clubs. I was working at Roots a lot. I was working in loads of cafes. And then all my contracts shifted. I ended up going to do my visa run and came back and stayed 3 months. In these 3 months, I decided to really focus on making money. So I had loads of my contracts were too volatile at this stage. Like nothing was consistent. I was kind of in the amber zone, and I was a bit like concerned as to what I'm going to be doing, because at the end of the day, if I can't sustain this financially, then I need to quit this nomadic life. So then I ended up, you know what, discipline really helped me. I started this end of the year reset series, which is so great. You can find this in my link tree, so with the show notes. This kind of gave me a new mindset. I did a vision board as to how I see my future. I ended up doing a lot of content creation in Da Nang because it was so affordable to bounce around different hotels and create content out of it. Like I stayed in a content for like £5 a night hotel. Won't recommend it again. Pay a bit more for sure. But the fact is that I had a limited budget to work with, and Da Nang gave me the facilities to stretch my budget so that I can really focus. So I had a daily routine. I would go for a walk or a run. I would come back to my hotel, shower, maybe do some yoga stretching, and then I go to co-work for the day in a cafe. And then I would come back and then go maybe co-work in the afternoon again to the evening, and maybe do like another run. So this was like me consistently for like 3 months that I extended my stay. And I'm so glad I did that for myself. I spent a lot of time healing and sending myself self-love. So you're probably thinking, but where does it all go wrong, Tasha? Miss Kiff, where does it all go wrong? So this kind of set up the foundation for me to have a new mindset to get more contracts. And I did. I earned a great deal with signing one of my biggest contracts, which is amazing, and this fashion brand business in India. And I ended up negotiating with them to say, well, I'm going back to London in December, because I realized that I was paying for storage, and I didn't need to have that storage, to be honest with you. I was paying like £140 a month for storage for my van, because remember, this was only supposed to be a 3-month trip. I ended up going from there to, I pitched to them and I said, look here, I've got one-way ticket funds. Why don't you pay for one of my one-way? So for me getting from Da Nang to India, or for me getting from India to London, either which flight you want to book. And then we can maybe have some garments, like that kind of energy exchange. They said, yes, come to India. So I ended up traveling solo to India for a week. It was absolutely amazing. I'm so glad I went, because being with an organization there is so much different than it is working with the organization online. And this was like kind of also a great kind of brand collab versus me with my business. And this was so great because for me, I love to travel. I've always wanted to go to India. I love Indian culture as well. I love the food. I love the people. And then from there, because I showed that initiative, it really opened up other doors for me. So I went back to London and went to house sit in Bristol for a month because my friends wanted to travel over to Thailand for a month. And there I just kept on working. Also, this was a time for me to move out my co-working space area because they were saying to me that I need to remove all my belongings. And I got to get rid of my van belongings, and I ended up upgrading my equipment, my content, and sorting out banking and all the logistics I needed to do for London to really super prepare to do this full time now. So I almost did like a test run for like 6 months, which was great. Like 5 months, 6 months. And then I was like, right. And during this time, I built up a reward system. I did all these incredible things for myself, which I was so proud of because through my discipline and me just taking constant action and really hyper focusing, not on partying, but on like, how can I be healthy? How can I be more disciplined? How can I be all these great things to get myself stepped up into another sphere? Like elevated myself. It was just so beautiful. Then I got my one way from London to South Africa, Cape Town, for £250. And I did this with my Revolut point system. So if you want to know more, please comment down below. If you are watching this on Spotify, I'm sure you can comment on Spotify as well. But I just have so much knowledge to share. Like I've just been waiting so much for this day to record these podcast episodes. So this is when things started to progressively like change. So the next 6 months of my journey. So I managed to tick off a bucket list, which was buy myself equipment. I invested about £2,500-3,000 into my equipment. And then I upgraded my laptop, upgraded my camera equipment and microphones, etc. Then I got this awesome £250 flight, buzzing with British Airways. I wish I actually upgraded to the premium one because this guy next to me in economy was terrible. He was like too big for the seat. And I wanted to complain, but I never did. Nevertheless, I digress. Then got to Cape Town, and this was a bucket list for me because the whole point of me being nomadic was for me to spend more time with my family. I have family all over around the world and friends, and I don't have any children and I'm not married. So for me, it's easier for me to travel than everybody else. So this was another bucket list I ticked off, and I was just like, wow, I can't believe I've done this in only 2.5 years. This is brilliant. Like from zero to achieving and thriving and achieving goals and working on my business. Like I was winning at life. Yeah. For my birthday, I ended up spending the day with my dad and took him out for a spa. And then I got called back to India to do a launch event and to DJ in Hyderabad. And I ended up, I was in January. This was a contract that I set up with the founder of this fashion brand. And then it was a new brand launch. So I invested my time for sure because I believed in the brand and I believed in the founder, and because she believed in me. So it was like a win-win-win situation, and I'm all about those dynamics. Anyway, we had like less than 8 weeks to do this launch, and things progressively became stressful because it was, at this point, I had wished I used the money that I received into delegation. This was my first rookie mistake here with businessing because I was working long hours every day. I was managing a lot by myself. I was managing people. Like the dynamics, I've always studied digital transformation, and this is like the internal operations of a company, but I feel like this is when I finally stepped into this kind of CMO role, which you are managing people and people with high authority and so much drama. People are drama. And this is when things started to get really, really stressful for me. So I ended up going from here back to India and flying via Dubai. And because whilst I'm doing all of this, I'm also content creating, right? I'm not just being a business owner, I'm also being the implementationist and the content creator and traveling as well. Got to India, worked a full month in India. I think the only 2 days I was off because I got sick. I also got to celebrate Holi in India, which was another bucket list for me. So super great. I got to spend time with the founders. I got to spend time with I get to go to Ralph Lauren's, like one of these manufacturers. I got to elevate myself very quickly. I got to DJ in India, another bucket list. So everything of that month was so profound, but things were changing within the organization where I actually extended my stay in India. I was only supposed to stay 2 weeks. I stayed a month. In hindsight, I should have just come back after 2 weeks. I just thought I was investing into more opportunity. And to them, yes, it was more opportunity. To me, was it really aligned to what I wanted? No. So I ended up coming back to South Africa and stayed with my dad a bit longer because my British passport expires in like August of 2025. So I thought rather than having to deal with this all in Vietnam or in Asia, because the goal is to go back to Asia, I decided, okay, let me send off my passport in South Africa. My dad's done it before. I trust the system, and then I can come back and I can start to travel. Like I don't have to worry about my British passport then. And I tried to make a trip back. I was thinking, should I go back to London to do it there? Would it be more affordable? And I got basically helping teach college graduates or university graduates how to skill develop to make sure that they are employable. Great opportunity. They were going to pay me for the day, but I phoned my friend who I used to stay in Bristol because they're close to Wales. It's very easy to commute from there to Wales. But unfortunately, that didn't happen because they were doing house renovations and they were actually having guest stay. So it wasn't really the right time to go over to the UK. And if the only place I could stay would be London, and I'm not commuting for about 5 hours. That's never going to happen. So I thought, you know what? Let me just stay in South Africa. This is longer than expected, but it's okay. Whilst this was all going on, I was still managing my business and I was managing interns at the same time. So I thought instead of hiring staff, I would teach interns how to do the job, and then they can do the job whilst I am busy. Like they can help the implementation process whilst I'm busy. But not everybody's an A-team type of player. This was the wrong approach that I did. And I got interviewed by digitalentrepreneurs.com for what is the next, like what am I missing as a business owner? And I was like, how do I scale? How do you do this? You know, how do women manage their feelings in business? Like, I just feel like I'm burnt out all the time. And I was trying to seek advice, and they actually offered me a publishing role, which in hindsight, the first thing I learned in business was you need to be able to action things immediately. Otherwise you lose your business. So there was like a lot going on. And when I got back to South Africa, I had lost access to a car because my stepbrother had crashed the car. So I was really stuck in the house just working, which was very frustrating for me. Like it was like the ultimate, I hate feeling stuck. I like my freedom a lot. But what happened is I ended up just working. Every day was like just crazy work because there was a few crises that broke out at this point whilst I was busy teaching content creation courses online. Like I was just in super hustle mode energy, like super in my masculine, super in like I've achieved all these things in such a short amount of time. My mentality was the harder I work, the quicker I get somewhere, and da-da-da-da-da. Like that was my mindset. So I was crisis managing. There was a business, my friend's a new friend that I met in Vietnam. He was starting a company, restarting a media company in Da Nang, and I was helping manage his business whilst, like, trying to help manage his business whilst I was in South Africa. So I was crisis managing that media company. I was neglecting my own business, which is the worst thing I could have ever done as a founder. I was crisis managing a business, the new business in India, and there was the other fashion business. There's also a crisis occurred. So I just had all crises everywhere, and I was just burnt out. I remember I was working every day, plus still editing videos, of course. So it was like 14, 15-hour days, and it was like hectic. The media company was pitching for funding, managed to help like secure documents, because at this point I had just been really good at helping develop pitches for investment. So this is like, I got to learn so much firstly in the 6 months of the year that transpired. It was very much work focused, filled with loads of travel, because it was like Delhi, Hyderabad, Dubai, Cape Town, Hermanus, back to India. So my second year of full-time travel started where I had used my own investments to go back to India because the founder had asked me. And I was like, of course, no problem. I wish I had just... So this is where the neglect of me not taking care of my staff I started to make bad business moves for myself and financial decisions. So I should have clarified, am I going to get paid for this trip or not? Am I going to get some funding towards my flights? And if I had known this was going to be just my personal investment, I would have said to them, look, within my budget right now to be able to go there, because it was way more affordable to come straight to Da Nang. I had worked so hard for 6 months. Like, my savings was so good. Like, you guys have no idea. This was like the best savings I've ever achieved in my life. Okay, because I was dedicated for the last 2.5 years to be financially literate, to be disciplined, to be focused, to learn how to manage my money correctly, to just be the woman that I've always dreamt of being, but I never had the tools to be that person. And bear in mind, throughout this whole journey, the only time I got to go to the gym was when I was in South Africa the first time, which was about 5 weeks or 4 weeks. And then everything derailed when I started to travel, because I didn't go to the gym in India. I should have prioritized the gym. When I came back from India, I didn't have a car in South Africa, so I had to just do what I had. I started to do a bit of yoga because my mental health was deteriorating, but I remember my face was so pale white from me just working every day. So then in June, July, I went via India and in India, I found out the worst news possible. Like, basically there's budget cuts, things are changing. The only way for me to kind of gain money is through business development, and I would have to invest my personal time. It was like the worst news that I could hear for myself. The business was undergoing a crisis, which I understand business moves happen, and the founder did exactly what she needed to do. So I honor and admire her for that. But obviously I, as a business owner, I neglected myself and my business. So I have to take full responsibility for that. And I then I flew, because in order to come to Da Nang, you have to either fly 15 hours via Ho Chi Minh, or you have to fly via Malaysia or Bangkok. So I decided to go via Malaysia because Thierry, one of my fellow amazing digital nomads, plus business owners, plus content creators, I met on my journey, my first 6 months, when she did her first 6 months of nomadic traveling. So we got to align together in Malaysia. So I spent 24 hours with her, which is great. Well, good 12 hours actually that day. And then I came to Da Nang and I was burnt out. When I got to Da Nang, things even got worse. My contract that was supposed to last me from July until October stopped. So bear in mind, I've been working hustle culture for the last 6 months. I finally got my business to like reach a valuation of £100,000. And I was like, wow, I've made it. Like, I can actually see myself generating. So that's obviously like, that's the valuation. It's not the actual money coming through. It's just the valuation of how valued your business is. So I ended up, when I was in Da Nang, I was like, wow, something doesn't feel right. I don't feel right. Everything, why have I started my year 2 disappointed? Like, this was not supposed to happen. Like, I was buzzing. Like, the first year, there was just so much, like, like so much positivity, so much greatness happening. I was reaching my goals. I was just being like super awesome. But the one thing I didn't do was take care of my well-being. I should have prioritized my well-being firstly. Secondly, I should have made the call to fellow business consultants in the UK to ask them, how do I scale and delegate? How should I be investing my money? And that would have only cost me about £60 for an hour session. I know exactly who to call. I didn't call that person because I wasn't thinking clearly. And my worst fear came true. All my savings that I built, now I started to use to keep me through my next, and I just signed a 3-month contract as well, a leasing agreement in the apartment that I was. Like, if I had known that, I would have not taken that apartment that was that price. I would have, because Da Nang, also coming in Da Nang in July is the worst time because the rates are just so much more higher. But I would have moved to a place that was maybe like could stretch my pound further. That's what I love about Da Nang. It just is a great place to reset because you get to stretch your pound further if you need to. Short-term sacrifice for long-term gain. And I was just devastated because my hair, I had a bald spot over here and a bald spot over here. You could actually see some of the videos. My hair's health was just deteriorated. My nervous system was crashed. I was like defeated. I felt defeated. This was supposed to be the summer where I got to just create and not think about money. And if I'm honest, it would like I had all the savings to have kept me for a full year and not work, because that was the whole point, was to get myself in year 2 and to start to recultivate and take things a little bit more chill and not be in survival mode. So I tried to restart the gym again, and I also signed a 3-month gym lease, which is, again, I would have just stuck to the basics, which is not spend £150 on a gym membership. I would have just did what I did in 2024, eat well, sleep well, and just do HIIT workouts. That was the best way for me for weight loss in 2024. But now I've got a crashed nervous system. I'm stressed. I am super stressed because now I've signed all these contracts in Da Nang, and I'm just like, what am I going to do about money? What am I going to do about money? So that's how the first year of my nomadic journey of full-time travel was. I came to the realization that I had not changed my habits, my patterns. I was still maintaining survival mode as I was with van life. Van life, I moved in there because of survival mode, literally that. I was just not going to work in a broken system. I was going to create my own freedom. But externally, I had built everything that I thought I had needed. internally, I had lost myself completely. And the crazy thing is that the next 6 months, it progressively got worse. Like, yes, my hair grew back because I ended up getting like an IV. I got fever. I had hair loss. I went for blood work. I ended up going for loads of massages, loads of hair spas. That's what I love about resetting my life in Da Nang. It's just, I could just focus on self-care, and I made it a vow to myself. It's time to focus on creativity. Like, I cannot remember the last time I was creative. And I had to really, really think about, I needed space to reflect. I ended up meeting up with other creators, which in hindsight was good temporarily, but I had to refer back to myself. What happened is I had an amazing summer. I decided, you know what, let bygones be bygones. If I'm going to have to go back to the UK or South Africa to rebuild again, I would just have to face that fact. But I thought to myself, let me just have the summer of creativity and fun. Should have managed my cash so much better in July, for sure. And this is where, again, I started to not keep consistent with my health. I was still crazily doing these insane patterns of, my sleep was all over the show. Obviously, I was like maybe drinking a lot more in the summer. I was drinking a lot more in the summer. And my discipline changed. My money habits changed. I was around people that had more money than me, so therefore I was spending more money as well. Like, I wasn't being as frugal as I was the first year, and I abandoned myself. I abandoned my boundaries. I abandoned all the things and the patterns that I had I had to insert new habits into my life to get me into a position of where I should be, but I didn't stick to it. So those 3 months crushed me, crushed my soul. But then it got worse. I got really ill. I went to an orphanage and I got really ill. And for 2.5 months, I was sick with tonsillitis. I lost my vision. It was like, my body was like, you gotta chill. And my nervous system was even worse. So I had to go and do some yin yoga and sound baths and just like re-establish myself. And then I moved into this apartment in October. And what I loved about this, October, I got to have a swimming pool, a sauna, a gym, and a jacuzzi. So this facilities has all the amenities I needed to reboot myself. And now we fast forward into February, March 2026. I've had to go, okay, we need to have a full reboot because I just didn't have the energy before. Honestly, there was no energy. I got myself an air fryer. I've been having a high protein diet. I've actually managed to lose 10 kilos in this last year, which is fantastic, and keep the weight off as well. This is why I have decided to reboot. Okay, this is not about I failed. I didn't fail at all. The only thing I failed to do was to take care of me. So externally, everything was amazing. Internally, everything wasn't great. So this is why I've decided now, let's not do 24 cities in a year. Whilst we're trying to build, it just doesn't work, yeah? So the first thing I need to do is slow travel. Slow travel is important. At the moment, Da Nang is a fantastic reset place for me to be in. Why? Because you can take more risk here, you can live affordably, and it's not just even about the cost of living, it's about the energy, the beach. Like, you can do a lot of things for free and still have the best time mentally. So I can walk to the beach It's like 3.5 kilometers away, and the beach is incredible. You can have a coconut for £1 on the beach. Wow. Journal, book, that's a day out. Literally. And I'm just obsessed with content creating here. So it's like a place of inspiration. It's a place of joy. It's just a place of amazingness. And it has such a great wellness community. This is what I didn't realize, how big the wellness community was in 2024. In 2025, I've realized so much more here. And I can invest more in my health, like at affordable rates. So this is my 90-day rebuild series. I'm going to take you along on the journey. This podcast is exactly where I needed to be in order to reboot it. I've always dreamed about having my apartment, my ideal dream apartment. Again, another goal of mine, to be able to record as many podcasts as possible, because I just love talking to camera and bringing you deeper into my little world. If you're in a season where you feel disconnected, even though you should be grateful, this is the series for you. Follow my Kiff Nomadic journal, because this season is about rebuilding properly in real time. And if you're considering Da Nang as your reset city, I documented everything I've learned in my reset guide and all things Da Nang inspired, and it's linked down below. Please do me a favor and follow this podcast. My aim is to get 1,000 listeners subscribed in my first 30 days, and this is on Spotify and on YouTube. So please don't forget to subscribe and do comment down below wherever you're listening from. I would love to hear from you and what you thought about the first episode. Ciao, ciao.